It made me different than everyone else. I may be very introverted as a child.
Lou Ferrigno lost 80% of his hearing at just 3 years old. Kids called him Deaf Louie and broke his hearing aids. At home, his father hit him when he cried about bullies. He built muscles from junkyard scraps to never feel weak again. But success brought new pain. For 5 years he suffered through Hulk makeup sessions that burned his skin. He tore his biceps saving his daughter from being crushed. Now at 71, his wife of 43 years has left him, claiming he used his Hulk-like size to scare her. The tragedy of Lou Ferrigno is beyond heartbreaking. Lou Ferrigno was born in 1951, but from the very beginning life didn't give him an easy start. As a toddler he suffered from brutal ear infections, not the kind that go away in a week, but the kind that leave permanent damage. By the time he turned 3, he had lost 75 to 80% of his hearing. But the scary part, no one even knew until then. His parents only realized something was wrong when they clapped their hands behind him and got no reaction. That delay meant he spent his earliest years in near silence without anyone realizing he couldn't hear. When doctors finally figured it out, he was fitted with hearing aids. But this was the 1950s. They weren't tiny or subtle, they were big awkward boxes strapped to his chest with wires dangling from them. Lou hated how they made him look. He once said he felt like a Martian freak. These devices helped him hear a little louder but not clearer. And because he missed so much language development early on, his speech was already different. People noticed, and kids at school didn't go easy on him. They called him Deaf Louie and Deaf Mute. They mocked the way he talked. Some even hit him in the chest just to break his hearing aids. And he couldn't fight back. He was small, skinny, and slow. He often felt like an outcast, so he escaped into comic books. He read about Superman, Spider-Man, and especially the Hulk, characters who didn't fit in but had hidden power. Those stories gave him something school never did. At home, life wasn't any softer. His father, a tough Brooklyn cop named Matthew Ferrigno, didn't believe in making excuses. When Lou came home crying from bullies, his father didn't comfort him, he hit him. "Don't come home if you can't fight your own battles," he said. When Lou's grades slipped because he couldn't lip read from the back of the classroom, his dad locked the basement gym and said it would stay locked until his grades improved. Lou later said, "My father rejected me because I wasn't perfect." But instead of breaking him, that rejection lit a fire. He wanted to be so strong that no one could ever hurt him again. So Lou adapted. He sat in the front row of every class, learning to read lips like a hawk. If a teacher turned their back to write on the board, he was lost, but he kept going. Sometimes he didn't even tell teachers he was deaf, he was too ashamed. But he watched, observed, guessed, and figured things out from people's faces and body language. It was exhausting, but he got through school using sheer focus and grit. Everything changed in 1964 when Lou was 13. He was watching TV and saw a movie called Hercules. Steve Reeves played the title role, and to Lou, it was like watching a real-life superhero. Reeves wasn't just strong, he looked like the comic book characters Lou idolized. Right then, Lou knew what he wanted. He didn't just want to read about strength, he wanted to become it. Especially the Hulk. He once called the Hulk the Green Santa Claus, powerful but kind. Lou wanted to be that. He wanted to be strong enough to never be bullied again. But gyms were expensive, and his family had no money for that. So he made his own weights. At just 13, he went to the junkyard, found some old cans, filled them with cement, and stuck them on a broomstick. That was his first barbell. For a bench, he nailed 2 big wooden boxes together, used some hinges, and even tossed a pillow on it to soften the pain. "It hurt my back," he said, "but I tried to imitate everything I saw in the magazines." He kept training like this for years. By 17, he finally joined a real gym, R&J Health Club, but by then he had already built a solid body with nothing but scrap metal and determination. Still, bodybuilding didn't pay the bills. So in 1969, at just 17, Lou got a job at a brutal sheet metal factory in Brooklyn. It paid $10 an hour, which was decent back then, about $75 today, but it was dangerous, loud, and filled with machines that could rip off fingers. For someone who was nearly deaf, it was a nightmare. But Lou kept working because he needed the money for food and supplements. While others ate sandwiches, he packed boiled eggs, tuna, and cottage cheese to fuel his workouts. Then one day in 1972, everything changed. A coworker got his hand crushed by a hydraulic press right next to Lou. That was the final straw. He walked out and never came back. There was no job security in bodybuilding, no paycheck waiting, but Lou took the risk, and it paid off. In 1973, Lou Ferrigno was just 21 years old when he shocked the world. He won both Mr. America and Mr. Universe. No one his age had done that before. He stood 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighed around 285 pounds. He looked like a giant next to other bodybuilders. But what made his rise even more powerful was what he had already survived. As a child, Lou lost most of his hearing to an ear infection. Kids bullied him. He started lifting weights not just to get strong but to feel less alone. A year later, he did the unthinkable again. He won Mr. Universe a second time. In 1975, he entered Mr. Olympia. He didn't win, but placing third put him among the sports elite. That same year, everything changed. A documentary called Pumping Iron began filming. It followed the rivalry between Lou and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Lou had the size, he was nearly 50 pounds heavier than Arnold. But Arnold had something else, he played mind games. He invited Lou and his parents to breakfast before the competition. Over eggs and coffee, Arnold smiled and said Lou just needed one more month to be ready. Then he bragged about being a 6-time champion, as if he'd already won again. Lou called Arnold arrogant, but Arnold's tactics worked. Lou placed third. Arnold took home his 6th title. Even with 2 Mr. Universe wins, Lou was broke. Bodybuilding didn't pay. For 3 years, Lou worked in a Brooklyn metal shop making $10 an hour by 1975. Had to quit competitions. He was still in peak shape but prize money couldn't pay his bills. In 1980 Lou married Carla Green. He had only $5,000 saved. Carla had $7,000. That was it. She once said, "We built our money in our home and we built it from nothing." Lou's size was unheard of at the time. His arms measured 23.5 in, bigger than Arnold's. He could deadlift 900 pounds, though no one ever confirmed it. Still, his strength was real and so was his size. Tall bodybuilders usually looked lanky. Lou didn't. He was massive but still balanced. And all of it came before the steroid-heavy era. His muscles were built through sheer effort, discipline, and a need to prove he belonged. In 1975, at just 24, Lou shocked fans again. He walked away from bodybuilding. He wasn't injured. He wasn't beaten. He just couldn't afford to keep going. Most competitions paid just $1,000. In 1977 everything changed again. The people behind the Incredible Hulk wanted someone massive to play the Green Beast. At first, they called in Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was 6 feet 1 inch in pure muscle, but they said he wasn't tall enough. So they tried someone else, 7 feet 2 inches Richard Kiel, the guy who played Jaws in the James Bond movies. They even began filming with him. But then something strange happened. The director's young son visited the set and took one look at Kiel in costume. He told his dad, "That's not the Hulk." Just like that, everything changed. They started looking again, this time for someone who looked like the Hulk from the comics, huge, ripped, and scary. At that same moment, Lou Ferrigno was busy training for the 1977 Mr. Olympia. Out of nowhere, he got a call for an audition. He showed up, they painted him green, and told him to just be like the Hulk. Lou said he stood in front of the camera, growled, moved like a beast, and they hired him on the spot. He gave up his shot at the Olympia to take the role. That one decision changed his entire life. But the real work hadn't even started. Each filming day began with nearly 4 hours of makeup. It wasn't just paint, it was thick, chalky green pancake makeup that stuck to everything. They added layers, 6 of them. Then came the fake forehead, fake nose, and custom-made teeth. The worst part? The white contact lenses. He could only wear them for 15 minutes at a time because they hurt so much. During the pilot episode, Lou stayed in full Hulk makeup for 20 straight hours. That's right, 20. It was so intense he had to get a private shower built into his trailer just to scrub off the paint. Even then, the green wouldn't come off. His toenails stayed green for 6 months. The physical toll was brutal. One time, during a 1978 scene where the Hulk lifts a car, Lou tore a muscle. He also got chemical burns from the green makeup, especially on hot days when filming happened outdoors in over 100 degrees Fahrenheit heat. The weight changes were crazy too. For some scenes, he had to bulk up fast, then slim down for interviews. His nutritionist warned it was dangerous. His skin broke out from the prosthetics, and he needed treatment between seasons. He once told People magazine in 1981 that the stress, the chemicals, and the lack of sleep had aged his body to 42, even though he was only 30. Still, Lou pushed himself harder than anyone else. He did 95% of his own stunts. That went against CBS's safety rules, but he didn't care. He believed no stuntman could act like the Hulk the way he could. One time, he ran through a fake wall that wasn't built right and hurt his back, but he kept filming. On another night at 4 a.m., a scene needed the Hulk to flip a car using wires. The equipment failed. Lou was tired, angry, and covered in green paint. He shouted, "You think I'm not going to turn that car over?" And then, using pure strength, he flipped the car himself. He said, "I think I really became the Hulk that night." That back injury still causes him pain even now. But if you ask him if it was worth it, he'll tell you he has no regrets. Things got even harder because of his hearing. Lou lost most of his hearing at age 3 after ear infections. He had to read lips to follow directions on set. That worked fine in quiet scenes, but during action shots, it was chaos. Directors couldn't yell cut, so he had to guess when a scene was over. Sometimes his hearing aids broke mid-shoot and he missed important safety cues. He eventually wore 2 at once just to stay aware. And still, he kept going. Many fans didn't know that the Hulk's growls and roars weren't always his. At first, Ted Cassidy, Lurch from the Addams Family, did the voice. After Cassidy died in 1979, Charles Napier took over. Lou wasn't the official voice, but that changed decades later. In 2012, for the Avengers, Lou's voice was finally used. His growls and screams were blended with Mark Ruffalo's, and again in Age of Ultron in 2015. That meant Lou Ferrigno's voice had been part of the Hulk for 37 years, longer than anyone else. But the fame wasn't easy. Fans loved the Hulk, not Lou. They'd come up to him excited and wide-eyed, but never called him by name. They didn't see the man under the paint. That started to wear on him. He once said being recognized for a character he couldn't even talk through felt strange. He'd dreamed of being a hero since he was a kid reading comic books. Now he was one, but nobody knew who he really was. Even on set, he was alone. The makeup was thick and hot. He had to stay in an air-conditioned trailer between takes just to avoid overheating. That meant while Bixby and the crew laughed and bonded, Lou sat by himself, sweating and waiting. It mirrored the Hulk's own loneliness. Always on the outside. Always misunderstood. In 1983, Lou Ferrigno was ready to live his dream. He had always looked up to Steve Reeves, the original Hercules, and now it was his turn to play the legendary strongman. The movie was called Hercules, but it wasn't like anything from ancient Greece. It was packed with lasers, robots, and wild 80s sci-fi effects. Ferrigno trained harder than ever and said he was in the best condition of my life. His muscles were enormous. Some said they looked like they might pop. But when the movie hit theaters on August 26, something felt off. Ferrigno's voice wasn't his. Every single word he said had been dubbed by another man, Mark Smith. But to him, that wasn't enough to justify removing his voice. It was a shame, he said later. That would have made it more of a classic. What hurt even more was seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger, his longtime rival, face the same dubbing years earlier in Hercules in New York, yet Arnold's career took off while Lou stalled. The film flopped and people in Hollywood started calling Ferrigno a one-note actor. Behind the scenes things were even worse. In 1980 Lou married Carla Green. Between them they had just $12,000. Carla brought $7,000 and Lou had $5,000. It was shocking, especially for someone who had just played the Hulk in a hit TV series from 1977 to 1982. But fame didn't mean fortune. Before becoming a star, Lou worked for $10 an hour in a Brooklyn sheet metal factory. It was brutal work. One day a man lost his hand in a machine. Lou quit the same week. After the Hulk show ended, the money dried up fast. Carla stepped in. She became his manager, booked his appearances and hit the road with him to rebuild their life. "We built our money in our home and we built it from nothing," she said. Later in 1991 they hit a breaking point. Vince McMahon, the wrestling tycoon, offered Lou $500,000 a year, nearly $875,000 today, to join his new World Bodybuilding Federation. Lou said no. But the fact that he almost said yes showed how bad things had gotten. That same year Ferrigno tried to return to bodybuilding. It had been 17 years since his last competition. McMahon made him the biggest offer ever given to a bodybuilder, $500,000 annually. That alone beat anything Arnold ever made. But there was a catch. McMahon wanted all athletes to pass drug tests for 3 months straight. Lou didn't like that idea. On the other hand, Joe Weider, a bodybuilding legend, gave Lou $250,000 in cash and $250,000 in ads for his sportswear line. Lou chose Weider. In 1992 he stepped onto the stage at Mr. Olympia. He was 41 years old. He placed 12th. After so many years away it was more than respectable, it was a comeback. But Ferrigno's most powerful moment wasn't on stage or on screen. It happened in 2020 at home. His daughter Shauna was playing near his truck when a 1,000-pound air compressor tipped over. In an instant Lou dove forward and grabbed the machine. He stopped it from crushing her but tore his biceps clean off the bone. "It sounded like a shirt ripping," he said. When he looked down, his arm looked like a child's. The muscle had curled up into his armpit. It was one of the worst injuries a bodybuilder can suffer. He was heartbroken. His career was on the line. But an NFL player named Bubba Smith sent him to a surgeon the next day. Ferrigno went under the knife. After 6 painful months he was back. He could deadlift 600 pounds again. He wasn't just strong, he was a father who'd do anything, even tear his own body apart, to protect his child. In the early 90s something strange happened in Hollywood. Lou Ferrigno, the giant green Hulk from TV, quietly became Michael Jackson's personal trainer. No one saw it coming. It wasn't a fitness gimmick or a photo op. It started because Jackson's surgeon said Ferrigno was the only one who could help. Jackson couldn't train in public, so Lou came to him 3 to 4 times a week. He visited Jackson's home. But this wasn't about lifting weights. It was about flexibility, pain management, back issues, light treadmill work, stretching, balance balls, carefully designed routines to keep Jackson moving on stage without falling apart. All while Jackson lived on a strict vegetarian diet and sometimes ate only once a day when preparing for big shows. As the years passed, something deeper formed. They talked about their childhoods. Both had strict fathers. Both were pushed hard. One was the strongest man on TV. The other was the most famous performer in the world. One day Jackson taught Ferrigno how to moonwalk, right there in the private gym. Lou said it felt astronomical. After workouts, Jackson would turn into a kid again, playing hide-and-seek with his children. Ferrigno watched as the king of pop became just Mr. Mom. But Ferrigno's life didn't stay in Hollywood. In his 50s, at age 53, he shocked everyone again. He put on a different kind of uniform, this time as a real cop. Not a TV role, not a stunt. He trained, took tests, passed background checks, earned his firearms certification, finished first aid courses. He became a reserve deputy sheriff in Los Angeles County. And it wasn't just honorary. He took it seriously. His father had been a lieutenant with the NYPD, so this felt personal. Over time Lou served in San Luis Obispo too, then Irving, Texas. By 2018 he had worn the badge in 3 different places. He said he didn't get shortcuts because of fame. Everything he did, he earned. And yet, while most remembered him as the Hulk, a whole new crowd got to know Lou through comedy. Between 2000 and 2007 he showed up in 20 episodes of The King of Queens, playing himself, but not the superhero version. This was a softer, funnier Lou, joking around with Kevin James, getting laughs from live audiences, teasing his own fame and loving it. He said he related to the show because in everyday life I go through the same thing. Fans who didn't grow up with the Incredible Hulk started liking him for something totally different. The scary muscle guy was now just a big funny neighbor. Then came reality TV. In 2012 Ferrigno joined The Celebrity Apprentice. That's when things got messy. Fights broke out. Tensions ran high. One moment blew up on screen. Comedian Lisa Lampanelli called Lou and another contestant useless, saying they had 5 brain cells between them. In a tense boardroom face-off Lou snapped. He said, "Lisa's lucky she's not a man because if she was I'd throw her right through that window." It got worse. Later on live TV he claimed her lack of fitness affected her brain. But even with all the drama, his team won $50,000 for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. He even danced while mopping in a viral video. He lasted 8 episodes before getting fired in episode 9. Just 3 years later, things turned ugly at home. In 2015 Lou sued his own brother, twice. His brother Andrew ran a business called Andrew Ferrigno Exercise Equipment. Lou said that wasn't fair. It used their shared last name but had nothing to do with him. The first lawsuit asked for a disclaimer. The second asked Andrew to drop the word exercise. At the time, Lou was worth an estimated $12 million. Andrew was furious. He told TMZ, "Why does he need to suck me dry? I'm so bewildered." In the end, Andrew gave in. He renamed the business Andrew Ferrigno Equipment. Lou Ferrigno is best known as the original Hulk from the 1970s TV show. But his voice carried into the modern Marvel movies too. In 2008's The Incredible Hulk, it was Ferrigno growling and roaring behind the scenes. And when Hulk slammed Loki and called him a puny god in the Avengers in 2012, it wasn't just Mark Ruffalo. It was a mix, Ferrigno's voice, Ruffalo's tone, and Marvel's sound tricks all blended into one. That carried on until Age of Ultron in 2015. But after that, when Hulk started talking more like a person in Thor, Ragnarok, Marvel stopped using Ferrigno. He didn't take it lightly. He felt the character was drifting too far from the fierce, primal creature he once portrayed. Off-screen, Ferrigno was hiding a struggle no one saw. At age 3, he lost 85% of his hearing after a serious ear infection. By 4, he had hearing aids, but they never worked well. He couldn't hear his own voice, which shaped the way he spoke for life. People thought he had a strange accent. He let them believe it. He told some that he had a speech impediment. The truth was more painful. He couldn't hear well enough to pronounce words clearly. His hearing kept getting worse. By the time he hit his late 60s, his word recognition had dropped to just 18%. Still, he didn't want a cochlear implant. He was scared until a friend got one and went from 12% to 98% word recognition. That changed everything. In February 2021, at 69 years old, Ferrigno finally had the surgery. The implant didn't just make sounds louder, it sent signals straight to his brain. After 6 weeks, his word recognition jumped from 18% to 65%. He could hear whispers across the room, the ticking of appliances, the distant sound of a car engine, his grandkids crying upstairs. He called the experience rebirth. For the first time in his life, he could hear things most people take for granted. He said hearing aids never gave him clarity like this. Now he tells others not to wait like he did. But what came next shocked everyone. In October 2023, his wife Carla, 74, filed for divorce after 43 years of marriage. She accused Lou of controlling and isolating her. Court records said he restricted her movement in the house, keeping her confined to just 2 rooms. She claimed he refused to make the home safer for her even though she was diagnosed with dementia. She also said he used his power and size to dominate her. Her lawyers described Lou's actions as part of a Machiavellian scheme to trap her in the marriage and hold on to their $2.9 million California mansion. Lou denied the allegations and said his main concern was her health. Then in early 2025, things got worse. Lou, now 71, filed a lawsuit against his own daughter Shauna, 42, and his sister-in-law. He accused them of elder abuse. In March, they allegedly tried to withdraw $500,000 from Carla's account by driving her to a bank, even though Carla had been ruled mentally unfit to manage her finances. The bank stopped the transaction and contacted Lou. He said Shauna was turning Carla against him, disabling cameras, and undermining caretakers he had hired. He claimed Carla was being manipulated and filed for a restraining order to keep them away from their accounts. But Lou himself wasn't exactly innocent. Carla's court filings said he was having an affair with a woman named Lisa, not secretly but openly. She claimed Lou traveled with Lisa, went to events with her, and spent most of his time away from their home. She said Lou was more worried about losing their house in a divorce than fixing their marriage. Texts from Lou even showed that fear. Carla's attorneys used this to show that Lou wasn't just protecting Carla, he was trying to protect himself. The most chilling part came when Carla described how Lou allegedly used his massive frame, 6 feet 5 inches, built like the Hulk, to physically intimidate her. She said he stood over her, screamed at her, and reminded her he was the Hulk. She claimed he used his strength and size not to protect, but to scare. She said he called her selfish, told her she was ruining his life, and that he wouldn't care for her anymore. These weren't just arguments, they were power plays. Her accusations cut deep, especially for fans who had admired Lou as a symbol of strength and discipline for decades. Lou Ferrigno was seen as a real-life superhero. But behind the legacy of green muscles and thunderous roars was a man battling with silence, loss, control, and betrayal, both his own and from those closest to him. The story of Lou Ferrigno is no longer just about the Hulk. It's about what happens when the rage seeps out of the costume and into real life.